pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Evening, everyone. We did have just one. All right. Deb?
Hi, guys. I'm going to attempt to be politically correct and tactful, so I'll be here second. That doesn't last very long, believe me. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the board policy updates that are going to be discussed later, and since I have to talk now, as you may know, the last couple of years, public education has been under, this is the politically correct part, we've been under scrutiny. There have been a lot of conversations had in a fairly negative manner about what we do and how we do it. Part of that has been attacks on teachers, I think. I'm just going to say it out loud. As such, speaking as a teacher and speaking for someone who represents the rest of our teachers, we've been feeling a little beaten down. There's been some things said about our profession that we don't think are warranted. So we're a little, I think, hypersensitive to things. So when we were reading through this, a few people brought to my attention how they felt about something here. And I want to say this in as nice a way as I can, because I do not mean to offend anyone here, because you guys are always amazing to us. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this, so that you would understand that what I'm afraid might happen is that this might cause some rifts between us and you. And I think our association, our teachers, our staff, all of us have always worked really, really well together. And I think we've done that because we've always talked. So I felt the need that I need to talk. The GBQA part, which I'm sure you probably haven't memorized all of these things, it has a couple of little bits in there that just, to some of us, kind of stuck out. The first part is where they talk about the negotiated agreement, and it has a line added, if applicable, which to those of us who are now fighting for our negotiated agreements, that really hit us hard, because I don't think it's intended that way, but the way that some of us, myself included, is kind of a jab. I don't think that's how it's meant, but I want to draw your attention to that and let you know that that's kind of how we feel about it. So whether we're being hypersensitive or not, I don't know, but that's how we feel. So if you make changes like that, I need you to know that's what the ripple effect might be. The other part is you're striking part of it at the bottom, and that's kind of reflective of our negotiated agreement. So once again, it's kind of a, well, why are we doing this now? So although you have complete authority to make all of these changes, whatever decisions you need to make, that's up to you guys. You know your jobs. But I just needed you to know that from a teacher's perspective, these things coming right now are kind of divisive for us. And we don't want that, because right now, I'm sure you've heard of the politically correct, no, the stupidity of the school board nonsense. I get to say these things because I'm a private citizen right now. We teachers object to that as well. I think you guys pretty much would have to too. It's ridiculous. We want to stand with you, and we need you to stand with us right now. And things like this kind of create a rift. Frankly, I think that's some people's intentions at times, is to keep us divided. But we've always worked well together. When I wrote to our legislators, I talked about negotiations, and I invited them to our negotiations and said, bring candy. You know, we do it quick, we do it fast, because we know what we need to do. Every conversation is about, this is what works for our district, this is what works for our kids. That's how we do things in Lansing. We work together. So I just needed you to know that this, for us, is kind of a bitter pill. So, thank you.
Debbie, you know that if applicable refers to if it's in the
But
Not if the.
I know, but
Okay.
as you can see, that's how we.
Because of the
read it.
syntax.
Because right now, as I said, we're having people, and I've sat in on some of the education committee meetings and listened to what they're saying, and there's some really
Yeah.
nasty things being said. And we hear those,
Yeah.
and we don't think it happens here, but yet we see this, and then, like I said, we may be being hypersensitive, I'm sorry, but we had due process stripped from us statewide. Now it's coming back this year, as you see, it will be back. We kept it here in our district because that's how we are here.
Well,
So
for
we
the
want to make sure
record,
that none of this touches us. We want to stand firm together.
for the record though, the if applicable does not mean whether the agreement's applicable or not. It means is if it's in the agreement.
Right, and I understand that, but since it already is, why would we have that phrase? Because it could be misconstrued, because it was misconstrued.
Yeah, it's,
So, and I understand.
Yeah.
I understand, it's just, I needed to let you know that that's how it's being read by a lot of people who don't deserve the way they're being treated right now. They really don't deserve that. None of us deserve the way we're being treated right now. So, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Any others? 3.2, awesome.
Can we do the consent agenda?
Oh, move, sorry, thank you. Move that we approve the agenda and consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? 3.2, Hoss Miller McPherson.
Okay, progress update. Punch list has started in the academic areas, final cleaning. Does everybody know what punch list is? Common term, so.
Yeah.
Starting in the classrooms of area F and working our way around the administrative area. All of the academic wing and the administrative wing will be complete, final clean, ready for punch list, and ready to start mobilizing furniture by April 1st. That's the academic wing and the administrative wing. So that's coming together really quickly. Other areas, the Commons and Resource Center, wrapping up drywall taping and finishing. We started painting in these areas. These areas, the Commons and Resource Center, scheduled to be complete by late May. Gymnasium, all the gym equipment's installed, and the wood flooring installation is starting this week. That'll take about 6 weeks to complete the wood flooring throughout and that includes finishing, game lines, everything. The last thing to go in the gym then will be the bleachers. We'll be able to work on some other finishes while the wood flooring is going in, just Tectum sound panels, some final painting, that kind of stuff in that 6-week time period. So in 6 weeks, we should be ready for bleachers to go in, but that's kind of the very last thing we do after the floor is cured. So gymnasium scheduled to be complete by early June. Pool, started pool handrail, starting block installation. Bleachers will be set this month, and the pool area is scheduled to be complete by mid-May. I will let you know we won't plan to fill the pool until closer to when school starts. We don't want to fill it too soon, because then if there's any dust or anything, it's a maintenance problem. So we'll probably fill it this summer, maybe late June, early July. Talk to pool consultant, give it time to work out any kinks in the pool, but yet not too soon. So locker rooms, MEP rough-in is complete. We started painting in these areas. Not a lot of fancy finishes in the locker room, so once the painting's done, light fixtures, lockers, and there's a little bit of flooring in those areas. Scheduled to complete the locker room areas in mid-May. Kitchen, drywall, taping, and finishing should wrap up this week. The kitchen equipment's fabricated. Going to start deliveries this week. The first thing we'll put in is a large walk-in cooler. That has to go in before the flooring and some of the other finishes. Heavy, it's big, we got to get this in place. ready for that. Kitchen area is scheduled to be complete in early May. Shop and drama areas are coming along. They should be complete mid-May. Band and vocal areas, painting has started in these areas, followed by lights, acoustical treatments. There's quite a bit of acoustical treatment in those rooms, so that'll take a little time. That area is scheduled to be complete in early June. Auditorium, one of the last areas to complete. Slab on grade was completed in February, and we're working on the concrete risers now. Should complete those this month. Started MEP rough in as well as metal set framing. The auditorium should wrap up in late June or early July. And that should be the last area complete. Site work started back up. Sidewalks at the athletic field should be complete this month. Fencing continued as the weather allowed this winter, probably 80% complete at the athletic fields, and should be able to finish that up by mid-April. Started working on topsoil, backfill at the athletic fields, and we'll start some landscaping in certain areas this month. Football field turf scheduled to begin by May 1st. Should be complete by mid-June. And we've also just been working on general site cleanup this past month in preparation to get going again on site roads and parking lots. Hope to have all the roads and parking lots and sidewalks in by June 1st. We've also got the courtyard area cleaned out so we can start grading that area out. There's some retaining walls and sidewalks and things going in the courtyard to get that wrapped up. So, questions?
Still ahead of school schedule and under budget.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. The auditoriums, like to see it a little further ahead, finishing with everything else, but right there in the middle, and the way the structure came together, it's coming together. It's just, and there's a lot of finishes in there, so it's going to take some time to get it complete. There's some wood paneling and some acoustic things, so but it's moving along.
Are you going to try to do plantings in there? In that open air area?
In the
center?
courtyard?
Yeah.
We may, depending on how far along we get, you got to be sensitive to the weather.
Yeah.
And if it gets too far in the summer, now a lot of that area is irrigated, so shouldn't be a problem. If for some reason it gets to be close to mid-June, some of that may have to wait till fall. But with that being irrigated, we should be able to get it in.
And I notice on the grandstands at either side, it's real attractive, but you've got, it looks like flower beds to me because I like flowers. But what is the purpose of those things? Are you going to put?
Those all get planted, all get shrubbery, and yeah, they're all landscaped. So, and those are where we'll probably start. They have black dirt in them, they're backfilled, they're ready to get going now. The ground's thawed out. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question on the gymnasium.
Mm-hmm.
How much more seating is going to be available with that? I forgot.
I'm going to ask Meg that question.
The seating is very comparable to what you have currently at the high school, but the difference is the loading, because everybody doesn't have to walk from the floor up. You have that whole entire running track, so you have that whole room to stand all the way around, and a lot more ease of movement. So it should help it with the congestion.
Budget-wise,
Yeah.
if they're trying to keep Randy up to date.
Everything I've heard is on time and under budget, so
Yeah.
that's
It's a good thing.
the great words that we hear, so
It's moving along.
that's the important thing.
Okay.
Get pictures you wanted to.
This is a picture of I've shown some pictures of classrooms completing, so this is a little more interesting. This is a photo of a corridor in the academic area.
So these are the collaboration spaces. This is what we got instead of lockers. So these are spaces that kids should be able to use during the day. Say you're working on a class project, instead of sitting on the red tile floor, we actually have a space that you can go out, sit in, work at, and this is the instead of lockers image.
This area is pretty much complete in this picture. Working on final cleaning, really trying to keep people out of the finished areas is the biggest problem. We're locking off doors and trying to keep them out. Another corridor.
The white chunk of wall that you see there is all a marker board paint. So you can take a marker, dry erase marker, and write on that whole entire thing. So you can actually go out in the hallway, do a class project where you're writing all over the wall as far as figuring out equations or figuring out something for it, or just putting announcements up for the school. If you have, proms coming up and you want to tell people to sign up, there's a marker board right there in the hallway that everybody passes by.
Is that the only one, or is there
No,
one in
every
every hall?
collaboration space has one.
And what's the longevity of that? I mean, is it pretty durable?
Just another corridor, another floor. I don't know if there's anything, a little bit different color scheme on the collaboration space. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. That's a typical charging station. In the classroom, you can see the coat hooks underneath.
So that charging station, there's the coat hooks underneath and then those outlets. And those outlets actually have USB ports, so you don't even have to bring the outlet part of your charging. You can actually just plug in USB. The outlets have that in there.
Picture on the left is a science prep room. It's complete. Got done final cleaning that. Epoxy resin floor, epoxy countertops, fume hood on the right side. This is a photo of a chemistry lab. Complete. Photo of a restroom. This is the lower level of the administration area. I believe those are counseling offices. So this area,
Those windows go out in the courtyard?
this
that
way,
way.
looks out the courtyard, looks basically south.
The windows are on the right. The windows you see actually look into the counseling suite.
Gotcha.
So behind that glass, there's a big, kind of a space that you can do meetings. Say ROTC comes in, instead of setting up their booth out in the middle of the hallway, or you're having a college recruiter come in, there's actually a space inside that counseling suite to do that, and that's on the other side of the glass.
This is the reception area as you come in the main entrance to your left. Starting final painting in that area. Or prime painting, I'm sorry. This is a photo. It's a little congested with material, but this is the commons area. Pretty wide open, working on taping and finishing in this area. Getting close to painting. Everything going on in there. It's just going to be fairly wide open. And then this is to the south of the commons area. This is the resource center. Started painting in this area today, so it'll be ready to start ceilings in another week or so. This is a photo of a painting. It's either painting or vocal. Painting started on the block walls. We've got the soffit frame, getting that roughed in, ready for drywall. Door frames are painted, blocks painted. So the drywall hung, we can start the acoustical ceiling. This is a photo of the skyfold as it's going in that separates the main gym from the auxiliary gym. You can see how it all folds up into this pocket and is flush when it's folded up. I've got a couple more photos to show.
Okay.
There it is. Now.
Elementary, I think.
And
And
we've
on
got
the main gym side will be a custom graphic that I think we're in the process of working on right now. It says Home of the Lions, and so that'll be, you go into gyms, you see the big mascot kind of logo on one of the big end walls. I mean, that's going to be our center, our big focal piece in the gym will be on that actual skyfold.
This is the gym cleaned out, ready to get started on prep for wood floor. You can see in this photo the skyfold is folded all the way up into the red soffit.
So if everybody remembers, the advantage of the skyfold would be, say you're holding indoor graduation, you could put the stage and all the kids up in the auxiliary gym, and you could lead all the way out. You have a big student assembly, you get 2 gyms worth of space, not just 1 gym.
Photo of kitchen, some radius ceiling elements, working on wrapping those up, and then we'll start acoustical ceilings in there. Swimming pool, as I said, getting started on it, handrail installation, starting blocks, and working to get that area completed. This is the auditorium. Got the first riser poured, should pour the next two this week, on up to this level where you see the raised red iron, and that continues back to this level. This is the visitors side. This is the soccer stadium side. Poured site concrete the last week out there. Pretty close to finishing site concrete on the visitors side. Another photo, this is the ramp that leads up to the south side of the press box. See the visitors concession stand in the background. This again is on the visitor side, soccer fields on this side, football fields on this side. I think these are the walls you were talking about, that they'll get plantings and things. These are long jump, pole vault pits, runways.
Now, in the bleachers, are you going to put anything else on those, or are they just going to be the cement?
They have, they're completed. I mean, you've got the stones on top, and that's the
That's it.
idea.
That's it, yeah. And then the brick papers for block area. Pictures, some ornamental fence going up and handrails in the foreground. This is another photo. This is looking for the soccer field. You can see the press box. We've got the windows in, working on getting started on each year finishing. Another picture of the ornamental fence. But this, yeah, this is what there's brick pavers here, and this is your seating area. So it's dirty, though. I mean, it needs to be washed out and everything.
Yeah. But the brick is really attractive. It looks really good.
It looks pretty neat when you're standing.
Yeah, it does. It's super.
I think that's all the photos.
Yeah, that's it.
Anything else?
Any additional questions?
Is the board going to get a chance to come snooping?
Anytime.
Well, no, I don't want to interrupt workers, but before
Well-
the kids invade the place, can we come and visit
Sure.
again?
Sure. If we want to schedule something any time before a board meeting, and we've got more daylight now too.
Yeah.
Because I don't think before anybody really got to go out and look at the athletic areas either, and that's pretty impressive right now.
You're pretty dark and muddy the last time we
Yeah.
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
out
Just
there.
hoping to get to the car safely.
We'll work to get something scheduled for that, because it's changed a lot. since-
When it's just pretty much all done, I'd like to see it before.
Sure, of course,
Yeah.
we can do that.
A couple other things to talk about. Furniture bids came in. Mona and Danielle sat down with Abby, and we were able to get all the furniture we wanted. Took a couple alternates to get exactly in, but we got in budget and got all the things we wanted. They are currently in the process of writing the purchase orders, so those will go out to vendors in the next couple weeks. So we're rocking and rolling on furniture, and hopefully that'll start showing up on April 1st. It'll start to show up as the building gets finished. We don't want some of it sitting there on site. So they'll come in, they've got directions of how to get in. They can get on every floor without an elevator, and they've got to protect everything and get it all in there. So it's really going to start to come together this spring. On the middle school front, we are finishing up documents. Our goal is to have them finished up on March 17th. And so finishing the last little details, trying to get that existing high school converted into middle school. Some of the big pluses that we've talked about is through some work, we were able to get it so that we were going to replace all the HVAC systems up at the high school.
Oh, yay.
So, I mean, that means air conditioning the gym, but that also means replacing the unit that feeds the whole entire high school and the last wing, which is, in my world, the 1992 edition.
Yeah.
So all the new, it'll pretty much have a completely new mechanical system minus the auditorium, since the auditorium is new.
Brand new, yeah.
So that's, I think, a really big plus.
Yeah, let me say, that is a really big plus, because there's one whole hallway, it's like a meat locker in the winter time, and there's no air at all in the summertime, and the other two halls, there was issues about mold and Legionnaire's disease and I don't know what all. But yeah, it was the heating and cooling was very uneven and it was uncomfortable. So I'm glad you're redoing that.
It's kind of exciting to get that unit out there. It's big enough, we actually have to cut a hole in the side of the building that's 10 foot by 10 foot. That's how big that HVAC unit is, so
Yeah.
that's going to be pretty cool. So it's
Yeah.
mostly getting the new one in there is the hard part.
Is it energy efficient as much as it can be?
Yeah. A lot of times when we do stuff like that, they actually change sizes quite a bit because of the new energy requirements. We have to do new air intake. New regulations require more air to actually be pushed into classrooms at a higher rate.
Yeah,
The
that's
turnover
good.
rate, I guess,
That's good.
is higher. So some big exciting things there. We're staying with the concept we have in our images, and so we're proceeding with that, and everybody seems really happy. I actually sat down with Carrie on Friday morning, and I think he's really starting to get excited about
Yeah,
what he's seeing up
Yeah.
there.
that's good.
So will that start, what, the Monday after they're out, or how?
In some ways, we're still working on schedule as far as what can safely be done as far as getting furniture moved out, because we've got a lot of stuff that's got to get out of that existing high school and still trying to work on how all that shuffles down. So, unless anybody wants to volunteer to carry desks.
No, but I'll come and help with the library. But they've already got that covered. A bunch of the kids have volunteered.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and we are working on the signage package for the high school, so that's, we've got most of that document out and looking to polish up some last little things, so working on all the exterior signage and interior signage for the high school.
I did have, sorry, Megan, I did have one question on the signage. I know some of the high schools in other districts in Kansas City have had some issues with signage and kind of the regulations within the city. I know it was Liberty or Park Hill, somewhere in North Missouri, had some issues. I didn't know what we were looking. I assume we're not going to have any issues with
Inside the building, outside?
outside.
The building?
It was.
No. I mean, we've
I assume
shown
we're
the city-
having, yeah, we're having, you know, some
Larry
marquee
sat down with
things.
the city and kind of showed them
Perfect.
what they have and, you know, gotten that approval. And with the electronic message center, that's usually the biggest one since that's the kind of light emitting one. So
Oh, no,
Yeah.
perfect. That
I'll double check and make sure we got all our I's
thought came to
dotted,
mind, so
crossed. Yeah.
as you see the other things in other districts come up. 3 at 3.
Ellie,
Tanya.
Can I get the clicker?
That's dangerous.
Just this one time,
There
though.
you go.
just this one time.
The signage, the city will have any jurisdiction inside the gate,
Oh,
not outside by the stoplight.
Yeah.
Just a brief history. I'm here to present Skyward and how we run the database, but a little history lesson here. How we got involved with Skyward was in 2011. We were looking for an online registration database. So when parents wanted to enroll their kids, they could just do it online. That was the most requests we got. Even though we loved having our centralized enrollment at the high school and having everybody in the community come, you know, and it was it was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of manpower that was being used. And a lot of parents are like, can I just do this online? I don't want to fill out these forms anymore. It's just easier if I could just do it online. So we started looking in 2011, in February, we started our conversations with Skyward. And by the summer of 2011, we started our conversion process and brought in the teachers, did the training. The teachers, we had about 10 teachers that came in, and Skyward came in and did train the trainer. So what better way for teachers to learn is to have other teachers teach them. So that was a plus. So the fall of 2011, we started Skyward Student Management. And going to some of the training and some of the user group conference, we were listening to some of the districts using the finance part. So we kind of started checking out the finance part and all the HR that came along with it and how the two databases can tie together. So the next spring of 2012, we started conversations with Skyward again to do another conversion. And by October of 2012, we went live with the finance piece. So in 3 years, we've done a lot with Skyward. So Skyward has two databases. It has a student management side and it has a finance side. The student management side maintains the student access, the family access, and the educator access, which is the teacher gradebook. The other side of Skyward is the finance side. That would be the employee access, the HR side, and the financial side, so all the accounting functions that go along with that. Okay. Let's see if I can. I did. Just a brief, and I'm not going to go into too much of the student management part because that will be another board meeting, because it's huge. But just a brief description of what student management maintains is the student information, student profiles, family information, the parents, you know, and their access. That's where we do the online registration setup. It also does the staff information. Student services such as special ed and RTI, which is response to intervention. Food service, that's where all the payments are maintained. Customers, all their information, past purchases, their statements and all that kind of stuff is maintained out of there. And that's where families can also apply for free and reduced applications through food service. Another module part of the student is the office part. This is where all the registrars do most of their work. They maintain the courses, the schedules. We have attendance secretaries that do attendance, discipline. The health information is in there, and activity setup, which activity setup is kind of neat, but we'll get into that another time. Administration is where fee management and transportation is held. Educator Access Plus, which would be the grade book and the lesson plans. Advanced features, name, maintenance, automated emails, calendar events, and so forth. And then the state and federal reporting. All the state reports and the federal reports that we have to submit to the state or the federal is generated through Skyward. And that is one great thing about having Skyward, because they work really closely with the state. So they know what the state requires, and we don't have to, you know, say, well, we need you to do this because the state is asking this. They're already taking care of it. Sometimes they know things Skyward does before we even do, which is great. So the other side of it is the financial management side. The last year we've lived mostly on the HR side because of all the employees that we've taken on. So the financial management side is where we handle all the accounting functions, the vendor, the purchasing, the credit cards, the fixed assets, the inventory, and then school-based activities accounting is handled here, and that's where we deal with the bookkeepers at each school. So when parents pay online through fee management, and this is where the two databases talk to each other and they're merged. So if a parent pays online, it also is revenued on the finance side for the bookkeepers. So a lot of money handling, check writing is we hardly have any of that because there is so much online payment, which makes it really nice. So on the HR side, I'll just show you some screenshots of what we deal with. This is just a screenshot of what we see when we enter an employee into the system. And to enter an employee into the system is pretty tedious. But once they're in there, they have access for anything we give them access to. For instance, teachers need to be able to do requisitions. Bookkeepers need to be able to approve true time. So there's a lot of just different, one employee could, you know, it's a different setup for each employee almost. So here's a screenshot. I'll just kind of briefly, read this. Go over. Here's like their name, and I just did a teacher sample. So I had to change some things around just so you guys can see what is all maintained in the HR part, and then you're going to see what an employee sees after we get done entering all their information in here. So there's the name screen, just going down the list. Personnel is where we put where they work, which building they work, if they're active or not. Their hire date, you can see down at the bottom their last check date, so if we ever need to check things, we can see that. If they're not active anymore, their termination date. The next screen is years of experience. So if you can see the local years, that's how many years they've been in the district, and then total years that they've been into teaching, because this is one of the data entries that we have to keep track of for a state report.
It's probably there and I'm not seeing it, But do you have some way to alert them? You have exactly so many months to renew your certificate
I'm
or
in
your,
there.
okay, I'll shut up.
We have a capability of doing a picture if we want to put pictures in there. This is their tax information, for their W-2 or W-4 information. Direct deposit, I didn't put that in there because it had banking information, but that's where their direct deposit's maintained. An org chart is, teachers are not in org charts, but classified people are, because our bookkeepers approve the true time, they approve time off, so there's an approval process. So once they're in an org chart for classified custodians, if anybody times in and out, they have to be entered in an org chart, which with all the moving with special ed pairs sometimes, that's hard to maintain. Then there's a retirement screen. I didn't put that one because there was nothing in there. Retirement is for capers and all the information that goes into capers. Benefits, so we have to enter benefits. This one just has the basics. Deductions, so if they have any, like the LEA dues, and you can see their start and stop date for dues and capers, deductions, and that kind of stuff. Then there's their contract screen. We have to enter their contracts. This is also going to be imported, which is nice. And then pay records. Sometimes they have more than these kind of pay records. So if they have extra duty, if they have supplementals, all their pay records are handled there. That we can see their check history. We can see their year-to-date on calendar. We can see fiscal year-to-date and calendar year-to-date. W-2 information, which is nice. And I'll show you where all this information comes into play for an employee. Leave history. Here's a certification screen when we keep track of a teacher certification. And this teacher just has one certification, and I think Matt over there holds the record. Certifications. Degrees. We don't have the teacher's degree in there, but we can keep track of their degrees. We can even put their GPA in it. We can see it on the transcript, but that's just a little too much. Credits, we can keep track of their credits. Let's skip that screen. So if they have movement on the salary schedule, we can keep track of all the graduate hours. And so if we want to see where they're at, instead of me going to my old spreadsheet that I used to keep track of, I can just go right here and say, oh, you only need 2 more credits to move over on that column if they ever question that. This is a work week schedule. This would be more for classified. So if we want to know what hours a cook is working, we could go right to that schedule. We've opened this up so the bookkeepers can now see it through here instead of their setup. So they're learning. Bookkeepers have learned a lot, and every now and then we give them a little bit more access because they require a little bit more with the pairs and approving time and that kind of stuff. Now this is what the employee sees. So when they log into their Skyward account, say they're a teacher, they have the access or the capability of going to their gradebook or their employee information or their student information all in one with one password. So they don't have to log off and log on, log off and log in. Parents too, if they're a parent, they can, if the teacher is a parent, they can still see their own students' information. So this is just the screen, and I didn't do screenshots of all these, but if you scroll down and you see the certification screen, this is one of 3 places a teacher is notified that their license is going to expire. So this is one. The state website is 2. All they have to do is log in with their social security number and see that. And the 3rd place is state. Oh, PDP Toolbox. Yeah. Every time they log on there, they get a notification when their license expires. So they can also go print their own W-2s. They can put in any kind of request changes. If their address changes, they can go log on to here and just request a change and not even have to call us. So that's what an employee sees. And some employees clock in and clock out. See that there's a time off screen up there. That's where they would request leave, but there's also a true time tab for classifying employees. So they just log on here and they click time in, they're in, they click time off, they're out. Next screen. Other things that we use in human resources is payroll, of course. time off. Subtracting is now automated, and that is tied to Skyward as well. So when a teacher requests leave, they'll go through their, I'm not sure how this is done, because Christine handles this, but it talks. True time, of course, work request is for any kind of maintenance, custodial, or technology requests that need to be done. And then there's an email that's generated. Advanced features is for messaging, if we want to do an overall message, especially on the student side, that's where it's mostly handled. We can set it up to have an email and put it on the message center. And then, of course, federal and state reporting for human resources for any of those reports that we have to do for them. The good thing about Skyward, I'm just going to pinpoint a couple things, is it's a one-stop shop, like I said. It's a merged database. There's only one login that they have to log into to see everything in their employee world. The support and training that we get with Skyward is pretty awesome. There's a lot of webinars we can just log into and just watch demos online. There's user group trainings, and then there's online documents. If there's no webinar, then they show just an online document and it takes you step by step on how to do things. Can't figure it out, then all we do is call. There are 4 districts in Leavenworth County, off the top of my head, using Skyward, which means that's a lot of local support. So if we don't want to call Skyward for just, something that doesn't pertain to them, we're constantly calling Fort Leavenworth or Baser to see how they handle the new student online and registration. We just gave a demo to Fort Leavenworth the other day about new student online registration, because they would just rather see how we use it instead of going through a whole demo with Skyward. Then in the works is Fast Track. We have this one going. This is an online application process, which is tied to Skyward. Also, we do have another online one that we use now, but this will be integrated with Skyward. So if we do the hiring, their information gets put into our database, so it will eliminate a lot of data entry for us. Or like I said, RTI. They just did a demo Friday. We don't know if we're going to use that yet or not. And the newest one that we started was last summer, and that was special education module and the Medicaid. So they're still in training on that, and I think it's going okay. Right now they're using 2 systems. Skyward said it's not best to convert information on this one. It's better just to use the 2. So they're having to do double entry right now, so they're not too happy. But other than that, that's it. Any questions?
Okay.
Okay.
You alluded to the fact that sometimes the state knows before we even get the forms done. Is this compatible? In other words, I keep reading where they want all the schools' data to be accessible to, well, it's certain things in our data to be accessible to the state. I don't know what.
You need to put on the state website? That kind of
Yeah, well, access so they can follow our enrollment and all that kind of stuff without us having to.
That comes through us reporting in the fall. So we pull information out of Skyward. But what I'm talking about with the state knowing, they know, for instance, the online application for food service for free and reduced.
Okay.
Skyward has to get it exactly like the state wants it.
Okay.
The LPR, the licensed personnel report, the SDCO report, all the course code management stuff, and when we do uploads to the state, that has to be in line with what the state requires. And so Skyward and the state talk, so they know how they set up. It doesn't fall on our place and say, well, the state wants this, but but we can't get that. I sometimes log in there, I'm like, well, there's another report that we can just upload for, So, but that reporting that you're talking about that goes on, I think the state report does come from us reporting in Skyward and then doing uploads into.
So this is making that process easier for you?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Good answer. Good answer.
So I don't, one of the things, they don't have like a direct feed into our accounts. It sounds like everything we generate and then provide to them versus a real-time interface
Yes.
Yeah.
with the
There are
state.
different reports that we have to do, and we'll get into more of that when we do come and do the student one for you. So we'll talk more about that.
It looks like it's all pulled together, so now you can just get the information like that instead of waiting 3 days.
Yeah, you think it's just going to be there for you, and that's, I think, sometimes with the districts, I always say that, we did a lot of setup. Dan remembers this, and it it was a lot of setup. And I think some districts think that it's just gonna be there for you when they go through this whole conversion stuff, but no, if you want it to be like you want it, it's best that you are a part of that setup instead of Skyward or whoever coming in and saying, well, we're gonna do it this way, this way, this way, and no, we don't want it that way. And so I think sometimes districts come, you know, I know there's frustrated districts out there that were like, well, it didn't work well for us, and well, you have to kind of do some manpower first.
Yeah.
The more competent your employees are, the better it works. And that's a compliment for doing
Yeah.
that.
I know from the parent side, it's a lot easier to see any and all the communications at all the schools and more importantly, pay the bills.
Yeah.
4.1, application and certificate for payment. Everybody have a chance to review that? All right. I move that we approve the pay application and certificate for payment as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? 5, everybody get an opportunity to read the buildings, grounds, and equipment reports? Any questions?
Just a little reminder, Nineveh and Dan made the new website active. I sent you a link. If you get a chance, take a look at it.
Those were pretty.
We're making improvements, and so kudos to
I have
Nineveh
to
and
admit,
Dan.
I missed the one-room schoolhouse. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Maybe
that
they
was-
could sneak that in somewhere.
Well, they started that, there was a picture of me in there with a dunce hat
Oh.
in the corner.
And it was an actual shot from your school year, too.
Yeah, no, the website was, that was great.
Yeah, it was good.
Significantly better.
Section 6, administrative reports. Everybody have an opportunity to read that? Any questions? Any comments?
I have a comment. I was looking at the elementary schools. Did I see that right? That 55 out of 165 kindergartners were not completely vaccinated?
Well, documentation of such. And what we're doing now is chasing the documentation.
Okay.
So, yeah, and that's become a really big issue in the last month.
Yeah.
With the measles and so forth. And part of it is nursing staff and taking care of those. And we've secured some substitute nurses recently to help fill in some of those gaps because, you know, you have a child hurting or you have paperwork to do, one pulls on us a little harder. But yeah, the immunization thing, right, we're right on that. And that number's shrinking daily as we chase those down.
So is it a state law that, I mean, I know parents can opt out for...
Allergies is a big one.
Okay.
That MR, there's a measles.
MMR, yeah.
One of those is a real common allergy to pertussin, one of the things. That's common. Religious reasons is by statute an eligible waiver as well.
Okay.
And but beyond that, and they bring that, you know, an affidavit for the religion or a doctor's allergic to this and so forth. Those are by statute the only ones that they.
So if a child doesn't, or a parent, not because the kid isn't going to have it, but if a parent doesn't produce their vaccination record,
Yeah, your board
and there's
policy.
not a waiver, does the child come to school?
Eventually, no. And, I mean, we work with them. We work with them pretty diligently, but after a certain amount of time, they're not in school.
And what's the time frame?
I don't know that off the top of my head, so
Any other questions?
I'll find out, Dr. Whitlow. Email you on that.
7.1, draft school calendar.
Per the negotiated agreement, this is to be approved this evening, but I'm not prepared to recommend that. We're still working with people and gathering feedback. So here's the draft that you normally get in February. and we're currently soliciting feedback from all the teachers. I've emailed Ms. Hutton about potential committee members. Maybe we'd have a face-to-face as they get more information. And once we get that together, my plan is to bring it in April, and hopefully they won't file a prohibited practice against me for not having it done by March. But we're a little slow this year on the calendar. The good news, pardon me?
I'm sorry. There is a typo on there, it looks like to me. They have the 18th for Martin Luther King Day, and it's down on the 19th down here in the black.
Oh.
Or I just can't see that well. But it looks like a 9.
You might be true. That's why it's good to do drafts.
Yeah.
And the other thing I might mention is next year is kind of a nice gift in that it's leap year. Well,
Yeah, Christmas break
Yeah.
is going to be really nice next year.
and with leap year, then one of the common things we hear from the committee every year is they talk about Easter Monday. And so Easter Monday is built in this one as a day off. What I like about those things is a lot of our families travel, and if we can get them earlier and later than the main traffic chunks that happen on holidays, it makes everybody safer.
Yeah.
And so Ms. Hutton and I are working together, and we'll have something to bring to the board next month. But for you to use and look at and shoot me feedback, if on it too. That's all I have on
Yeah.
the calendar.
Comparable to last year's when I held them up.
Yeah. What we do is we take the previous years as a template, and then we just shift the dates as they go accordingly. And our goal on this one is to start a little later and some of those things. And then we'll see what others have to say and offer too.
7.2, 2015-16 negotiations, board member appointments.
I move that we use the same 2 individuals that we had last year, Beth and,
Claudia.
were you on it, Claudia?
No,
No.
I think the
Debbie.
2 we have have done a fantastic
Yep.
job,
Debbie
and they're the
and-
ones that have
Yeah.
done the specialized
Beth and
training.
Beth and
Debbie.
Debbie.
Yeah.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Quick, hurry.
Did you make a motion or just second yourself?
No, Dr. Whitlow made the motion, I seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Now that's starting later this year though, right?
It starts at about the same time. It's just we usually do it closer to the end of the school year.
7.3, the board policy updates.
Well, with Ms. Hutton's, I wanted to change my recommendation to drop the words "if applicable." I never saw it as a way of insulting people. And so it's an easy drop it, strike it out. But here's the thing. Policies are, boards have legislative, executive, and judicial responsibilities. And policies are part of that legislative responsibility. Policies by design must be skinny and thin. They're not procedures. And so this bottom paragraph, striking it out, it's in no way to say that we're trying to, demise anything as part of the negotiated agreement. What we're saying, in fact, is our policies need to be skinny. The negotiated agreement covers this. Should we renegotiate it and add something to or take something away, then the policy's still intact. Remember, policies are the umbrella. They're the policies in which we carry out procedures. So that's an easy thing to get mixed up. I mix it up all the time. But I still recommend that we strike that out because it's redundant in terms of we already have it in our negotiated agreement. And so with that, I would leave that part there. But the if applicable, I'd say strike that, but leave the other part in, and then my recommendation stands beyond that.
I disagree. On page 31, I think it's 31, 32, I read it, and the first thing that hit me, it's contradicts the negotiated agreement, so why deliberately put something in the board handbook that is not in agreement with the negotiated
Which
agreement?
part? I don't know which part.
Is that the bottom paragraph that you're talking about?
There's 2 pages, and the language, to me, it looks like it conflicts with the negotiated agreement. And rather than have 2 different opinions on how to do things. And the second part of it there looked to me like it's basically saying, we're not going to honor seniority.
Yeah, that's why
If
we're
there's-
striking
if they're
it
riff.
out. So that it's not part of the policy, that the negotiated agreement stands. See,
Okay.
these aren't being recommended to be put in, they're recommended to be taken out.
Okay,
And so that, whenever you see red and a strike through, the recommendation is to remove that from
okay,
policy.
so take it out.
And that's what I mean by, not only is it redundant if it just repeats itself, but secondly, it increases the chance to conflict.
I
with
don't
the
want
negotiated.
anything in there that conflicts with the,
Yeah.
because I know on my spy missions, KSAB, when we do our training, they're really pushing to negotiate changes. So I want to make sure that it's actually negotiated, not just done by,
Negotiate what?
okay.
Uh,
The phrase that I heard over and over again was, don't give anything unless you get something, meaning that modifications in the
Oh.
teacher's side of the equation. And
Well,
I'm
policy-
very cautious about that. First of all, the state legislature is so up and down, and there's so much conflict. What's the point of putting a piece of writing in there that's going to create problems, and maybe in 2 or 3 years, somebody is saddled with a problem because we just didn't say no.
Well, anytime, the good news is that policies are to remain skinny, and that policy cannot conflict with a negotiated agreement. If it does, the negotiated agreement trumps the policy. And so, I mean, that's the good news in that. This isn't part of negotiations. This is board legislative duties policy. And so yeah, and that's our goal. That's why we strike that out, so that we won't conflict the negotiated agreement. And we also eliminate the potential to conflict with the negotiated agreement. So that's what that's about. And it's not to give anything or take anything. It's just cleaning up policy. And an entire staff of well-trained attorneys are the ones that advise us on what to do with these. They're not fun reading, though. They're not fun
No, I
reading.
did enjoy those 82 pages, and I want that time back.
Okay. We'll clock it in.
Okay, but
I'm looking at page 31 and 32 here, and it talks about student absences. That's not in the negotiated agreement, is it?
No, this is talking, well, the second part of it that bothered me, it basically just took away seniority rights, and I'm thinking, we don't want to even mess with that, just leave that section out.
I think that's the
I think
GBQA section.
Reduction in
The part
force.
that Deb was talking
Yeah,
about.
in other
earlier.
words,
Okay.
if you riff, you can riff anybody you want.
See, like one of their recommendations was to say 1 year. And what we've done since the last time you received these is try to match with a negotiated agreement. Our agreement, and we negotiated this probably 5 or 6 years ago, we said, no, we're going to go 2 years. And so if somebody does get riffed, which we've never done since I've been here, we'll go 2 years in the callback waiting period rather than the recommended 1 year, because it's negotiated as 2 years. But I get it. I mean, it's just like Ms. Hutton said. We're all feeling attacked in Topeka. And so we're more skeptical about anything than we normally are. And it's kind of that, they're dividing us in an indirect way. But honestly, we haven't changed. And I know the 2 board members that negotiate for the board, our interests are with the teachers. and we do work really well together.
I know you do, and I have huge respect for those ladies. But at the same time, we may not all of us be here forever.
Sure.
I don't want anything in the language that attacks seniority.
Right.
I really don't.
And that's
Because what happens is budgets get really tight, you start slicing.
Yeah. And then if you like somebody better than somebody else and.
Well, yeah,
all
and some of the
those
language in
things.
there, I'm thinking, oh, that's going to be a living nightmare because you're going to have, so-and-so's buddy is going to be retained while this other person who actually is a better teacher is not going to be retained.
Yeah, you bet. So that,
So Randy, when you're looking at page 14,
it's hard for, I'm looking on my iPad, so
Okay,
you might give me the letter.
GBQA,
Oh, okay.
The one.
okay, your recommendation is to take out the if applicable,
Right.
and then what about that bottom paragraph? What did you say about that?
I think, as Claudia said, we still need to take that out, even though it reinforces, as Ms. Hutton said, what we have in the negotiated agreement. That could change in negotiations. We'd have a conflict with policy. And honestly, our purpose of policy, again, is to stay thin. Because the more you put in there, the more legal challenge you could be, So my recommendation is to take that paragraph out, to answer your question.
The way it's reflected.
The way it's,
here.
way it's presented.
Okay.
But the if applicable, to me, no-brainer, let's take it out of there. That way we don't hurt any feelings. And also, I can see now, looking at it, again, that could be misinterpreted as saying maybe the agreement's not applicable.
Well, and they're going to send us updates every year.
Twice a year.
Yeah, I noticed. We got them all at once.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just take it out and wait and see what happens down the line.
Yeah.
My issue was that there was a thing on workers' compensation in here, and we have a workers' compensation position that the district has identified.
The office,
Right.
yeah.
Is it really legal to say that we can limit an employee's workers' compensation to $500 if they don't use the district-selected position?
It is,
Is it really?
yes.
Okay.
And, I don't know that we would do that, but you have the legal right to do it. And if you decided, if one of your employees said, I want Randy Bagby, and so forth, and that's bogus. And, and I had credentials and I could write up all kinds of things. If you knew that, then you might want to, that's the worst case scenario.
Any additional questions? Comments? Okay. I move that we approve the board policy updates as presented with the modification of the removal of if applicable within the GBQA section.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Is that going to take out that second paragraph too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Remove that.
striked out.
Networking equipment, 7.4. This one.
Daniel, you're up.
This is all of our networking equipment for the new Lansing High School. About $311,324. Our hope is that we'll get some of that back through our E-rate funding. There's a chance of that. We've never been eligible for Category 2A before, but our E-rate solutions vendor that we work with files all of that. Is hopeful that we will get some back. So we work very closely with them for the bid process and in order to procure all of this equipment. The process that we went through, we had a meeting where after we had posted our RFP, we invited vendors to come out in order to ask questions. that they would have about the equipment that is being requested. We have some networking equipment, Brocade switches in our district, Aruba Wireless in our district, and it's important that all of our equipment that we purchase will work with our current network infrastructure. And in order to do that, they had to either bid Brocade switches or bid switches that would stack with those, and that would work in our Aruba Wireless setup. We received one bid back, and that was from Yellow. We had 3 show up to the meeting, Windstream and NCIS, I believe, or NCES equipment, and then Yellow Dog Networks also was here for that meeting. Yellow Dog was the only one to submit a proposal, and so I would recommend that we take that bid. We work with Yellow Dog Networks on our network monitoring, and they've also been very instrumental with our current network setup and infrastructure. And so we have a very good relationship with them. All of that equipment, like I said, is just for the new high school. Approximately, there's the equipment. If you turn your head like this, there's approximately 210 APs, 32 network switches, 11 APC units, which is our battery backup on our equipment, and then we'll have Palo Alto firewall, which does all of our monitoring out at the new high school also. This is just for the equipment. We did not bid installation with that. We will do the installation ourselves, me and my merry band of children that work. That including network, or Yellow Dog Networks will also help us with that install. We'll pay them on an hourly basis. It's a lot cheaper to do it that way than it is to, their network people get paid a lot more than my network people. And so at some point in time, it'll be hanging an access point in every classroom, and then Dwayne Treff, who we work with, will configure all of those for us as we go out and do that. So I'm excited. It's a lot of work, but we get in about the same time, April 1st. April 1st is also the first day that we can take ownership of this equipment. Just in case we get E-rate funding, which would come back around September of next year. We can't take ownership of it until April 1st, so Jeff said he'd work with us and could get us the equipment as close to that date as we can. So we'll be able to get in as soon as Meg and Pat say that we're good to go, and because we wait on them also. Because that's the one thing that makes me a little nervous going in and doing our own installs is, as she said, people that go up the elevator and if they screw something up, that's on them. Well, now all of a sudden, that's on this guy. So, but it's exciting. Like I said, I think we saved some money on the installation, and you'll have another one of these when we do the new middle school, and it'll be good. So.
Just a side comment, it's a very good price.
Yeah.
Telling you from experience, it's a good price. And then the benefit, and I don't know if you all realize this, but you can walk anywhere in our district. And if you've been connected here, you walk in and you're connected there, whether that's the elementary school, the high school, or the middle school. And that's the beauty of when you have people that go back and forth from buildings or students and so forth. It's going to be a very well integrated system. So kudos to Dan.
Well, and I'd like to, one other point too, that they were talking about the gym and the whole process of Mike being out there, Del Bohannon being out there, and eyes and ears and all of that, and the good relationships that we have is, you got a call and Mike could talk to me, and then Dale called and he said, hey, just so you know, the gym floor is going down, and unless you want to get into a very small bucket and ride to the top after the gym floor is laid, he said that you need to have some access points here tomorrow. And I walked out there and I saw that that's a long ways in the air. That we did get a few access points.
That's on your bucket list though,
Yes.
isn't it?
No, that's a different bucket list. And so, but that's the thing, of some of those things, that's a long ways in the air, and we have 10 access points in the gymnasium alone, which will allow us to have about 1,500 people online all at the same time in that gym area with good Wi-Fi service. That's pretty impressive. So, but that's kudos to some of the things that we have set up and Mike's hard work with that coordination. Those things save us, save me having a big head that feels like I'm gonna fall over. So let's quit talking about that.
So you'll have wireless at every place in the whole campus pretty much?
Close. We're working on some outside pieces. Those are real expensive.
Swimming pool?
Say again?
Swimming pool?
Swimming pool. Anywhere near the building, yes. And out to the football field, yes. Out to the concession stand by the baseball field, yes. But if you get to the far reaches of the baseball field, there's still some things that we're working on. And Yellow Dog will help us with those, but that's kind of out of the scope of the first part. Some of it's figuring out what you need. They'll sell you whatever you want to buy, just so you know. But that's kind of where we're at with that. So I also feel very good about the price. Yellow Dog has done us very well, and just the Brocade switches versus Cisco switches, and it's been very reliable for us in the last year. And the cost savings of that is about 40%. That is what we've found. So.
Any ballpark on what that E-rate piece would be?
We are about 48%.
Okay.
At the high school, we are capped, the category 2A, when they changed that, is capped at about $150 per student over 5 years, I want to say. So about $150,000 could come back at the high school. So that's the high school part. When we do the middle school, we could get some money back on them. And then it's based on a per building, per pupil budget over 5 years. I'm trying to spend it all in my first year. That way, surely the feds won't take the money back.
Never know.
I had something else to say, but I kept it to myself.
Well, I move that we approve the new high school networking equipment as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Quite a few donation lists here, so that was kind
Must be our lucky day.
of nice. Yeah.
But, and just, the only part I'll add is, I recommend all of them as they are presented and to their designees. So if you want to
Yeah,
zip through.
Okay. 7.5, I move that we accept the $200 donation to the Lansing High School track team as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. 7.6, I move that we accept the $755 William Budd Memorial donation to the Lansing High School boys basketball team as presented. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. 7.7, I move that we accept the $2,500 Armed Forces insurance donation to Lansing schools as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. 7.8, I move that we accept the $200 Noah Marsh donation to be used for the Deccan Nationals as presented.
It's not 250.
Says 50.
I got the 250 or 200? $250, sorry. It's 200 on my.
Yeah, it says it on that title there, doesn't it?
So
It
it's
is
200.
200.
Well,
Typo.
I'll clean it up. I move that we accept the $200 Noah Marsh donation to be used for Deccan Nationals as presented.
Aye.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. 7.9, I move that we accept the $207.46 Target 2015 Take Charge in Education check to be used as needed in Lansing Elementary School.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. And 7.10. Move that we accept the Pepsi donation of $70.34 to Lansing Elementary School as presented. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
How many, about 15?
15, okay. I move that we move to executive session to discuss non-elected personnel matters.
We have to add 5 minutes to that.
Yep. To protect the privacy interests of individuals, to be discussed for 20 minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
8.2, I move that we accept the resignation of Teal Wilson as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. 8.3, move that we approve the appointments and transfers as presented. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. 8.4, I move that we approve the supplemental positions as presented. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. 8.5, move that we approve, that's two, looking for those?
Yeah, just one of them.
Just one of them.
It's in there
Yeah.
twice.
8.5, I move that we approve the 2014-2015 returning out-of-district students as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, can we have a committee about that too? We need a policy on out-of-district students. It can't be just a unilateral decision. I think it's a community decision.
I think the decision is one of the Board of Education as the community representatives.
Okay, I'll even go along with that, but we need to discuss it publicly, the pros and the cons, because,
I think we've discussed it, Claudia.
oh, no,
We have to run a
begun.
district, it's financially viable, it's logical, it doesn't impact anybody's tax base, and we've covered it for the last 7 years.
I don't agree with that statement, respectfully.
Okay.
And I think we do need a public discussion of it. And if you want to do it just as a board, that's fine, because we're here to represent the people. But I'm tired of seeing our students, our student body being expanded by people who don't live in town, when there's, I checked, there's 79 living units available in the city of Lansing, available right now. If it's important for you to have your children go to Lansing schools, I think you should live in Lansing.
And that's a fine opinion, and that's fine.
And it's not free. It costs money to educate each and every child.
All in favor?
Was there a second?
Yeah,
What-
we were
what
in
are
discussion.
voting
Returning out-of-district students. Yeah, we had a second, and that was the discussion.
Second.
on? Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 8.7. 8.6 was a repeating entry. 8.7, I move that we approve the substitute teacher list as presented. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Section 9, other discussion items. I think we're looking preliminarily for Randy to head up, looking to get a committee to, there's been a lot of rumors regarding the pictures, the alumni pictures along the wall that are currently displayed, and trying to, concerns that they will not be at the new school. They will be at the new school, but how they get presented, I think it would be nice to have some feedback and opportunities for some interested parties to present their sides and come up with a cohesive decision on that. So nothing to act on right now, but just to a heads up, something for that, and which would accept, you know, some board members, some communities, folks, alumni, people through the district.
Any time frame or anything you're thinking of in terms of day of the week, or is it evening, lunch, you know? weekend?
Too early for that right now, just kind of in the initial planning phases of something like that, so. I know that I've gotten a lot of feedback that, hey, I hear they're not moving the pictures. No, that's never been the case. How they get presented is something that's just within discussion.
We have 4 examples back here in the back, if you'd like to see what kind of condition they become after years and so forth. Feel free to take a look at those. You can see how they fall apart when you move them. You can see the light and water damage that occurs to them over time. And that might help you with some insight about the process we need to consider to preserve them and to display them.
So just a heads up on that.
Do we have, Megan, do we have cost estimates on the options?
I've been working with Nineveh on some options, and some of the cost options really just are how complex you want to go. So we've been trying to sort through that so we can make a cohesive presentation.
Okay.
10.1, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
See you next month.